Hey, folks. It's me. It's Marc. I'm checking in. I talked to you Monday. You know what's going on. It's been a horrible few days, but I think I'm beginning to come out of at least the shock part of it. And it's up and down. It's waves. You know, I've been very busy because so many people have reached out. I mean, thousands of people have reached out. And I got to tell you, all you people who listen to the show, who reached out, it helps me. And her family appreciates it. The people that love her appreciate it. The outpouring of love and support, sadness, it's helping. And I really want to thank you. I know this is going to be a long haul. I know there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but I've been trying to keep busy. I've been trying to make myself available for the family and for whatever needs to be done. Friends have come over to do some social distance sitting with me, and I've gone to one person's house, a couple, and another couple came over, friends of mine, and we were out back outside doing the grieving sort of food thing, socially distanced. So there is human connection happening. There's several people that I talk to on the phone every day, friends, and then just the outpouring of love from everybody in my business, people who I had no idea would know me or know Lynn. But I just wanted to check in. I can't go on too long. It's been a long day here. It's going to be up and down, but I'm gonna try to stay engaged here. I have a bunch of shows I recorded before Lynn passed away that we'll get to. But today I actually have another repost, a posthumous repost for Fred Willard, who died a few days ago on the 15th. He's one of the great comic geniuses, one of the great comedy actors, just a genius. And we had him on the show. I think we did the interview in early 2012. And it was put up, it was posted on March 15th, 2012. And it's interesting. I remember doing it because this is fairly early on in the process of the podcast. And I remember I learned some lesson from him. I couldn't identify it re-listening to the conversation again, but there was a question I had asked Fred that it was a personal question, but it wasn't the nature of the question. It was, I can't remember what it was, but I just realized in asking it that he had never thought about it the way that I was asking. And I can't remember what it was, but it was just this moment of a gentleman that was already a bit older, who was sort of set in his way of thinking and just never thought about what I asked him, the way I asked him to think about it. And it kind of threw him. And I realized that there's no reason to push this because he can't process it. And it was a moment of boundary and a moment of respect that I really made note of and integrated in to how my sensitivity to people evolved. I just remember that. He's a sweet guy and a very funny guy. He talks about his wife a lot, and she passed away in 2018. And I'll be in touch, you guys. I'm gonna keep doing this stuff. And thank you for all the support. Thanks for being there. I'll check back with you on Monday. And this is my conversation with Fred Willard from 2012. Have you done many podcasts, Fred?
I have done a few, yeah. It's always a little strange. You never know, are you being heard, or when are you being heard, or what? It's going into space.
But we're recording it. But it must be fascinating that this is part of show business now.
Yeah. Is this? Well, this is not streaming. I remember I did something with it. Streaming means it's going out live.
No, this is not streaming.
But it's pretty close to it.
So, you're one of the funniest people alive.
That's what I tell people, and people kind of look at me funny. And they say, "Well, I don't know. There's a lot of funny."
But was this always the direction? Was this always the big plan?
I was kind of the class clown, as most comics were as a kid, kind of growing up, and for some reason, I guess I don't know if they'd make kind of funny remarks in school, but I didn't know what I wanted to be. I always loved comedy. I think it's just a nice release to hear a comic and go someplace and laugh.
Where'd you come from now?
Well, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
When Cleveland was great?
It was at the time called the best location in the nation. They had steamships coming in, and it was a steel town. And
because I was just there, and I'll tell you, it's a little sad. It seems to be bouncing back a bit. There's a couple good restaurants, but I could tell it was a great city.
At one time, it was pretty booming. I think it was like the fourth or fifth largest city in the country, because it was it was right on the Great Lakes. We had the Indians and we had the Browns. We had big, vibrant downtown, and I don't know what happened. I think all the industries kind of folded, and everyone moved to the suburbs.
Right.
And now downtown, there's the center, which used to be called the Terminal Tower.
Yeah.
It's now Tower City.
Right.
And then you go about 18 blocks east, and there's a lot of theaters. Some of them that I used to go to as a kid, they'd have live shows. They'd have a movie, and then Danny Kaye would be there, or Bob Hope.
You saw Bob Hope?
I did see Bob Hope. I remember saw Jack Benny, Danny Kaye.
Really? How old were you?
I was just a little kid, just old enough to go downtown. I'd always have to have a friend take me. My mother would say, "You're not going downtown by yourself." Not really. Parents never realized these great moments that. And I'd hang out by the Cleveland Stadium if I go to a ball game. Even if I didn't go to the ball game, I'd hang out by the visitors' exit, get all the visiting players' autographs.
Yeah.
A lot of great.
Do you remember seeing comedy? I can't imagine. So they'd have a movie and a comedian or shorts.
Well, it wasn't even the comedians. Well, Danny Kaye, Jack Benny.
Yeah,
but I don't remember seeing stand-up comics.
Well, was there even that a form yet? It was more.
I think it was for the older crowd.
Right.
If you go to Miami or Grossinger's,
yeah,
these older comics always with a tux, and a lot of jewelry on their hands.
Really?
And I was going to dinner or going to Miami. I was just in Miami. But I remember what impressed me the most. I don't know if you remember a Spike Jones, the musical act.
Well, he was huge.
He was huge and very good musically. And I went. I'd heard his records, and his show came through Cleveland, and I went down to see it, and I'd never seen. It was a comedy review, but it was based on music, and he did takeoffs on songs, Cocktails for Two with sound effects,
right?
And he had funny characters, Sir Frederick Gass, and he had a harpist who just sat on the stage, and they made a big thing of it after you noticed the harpist, the woman had never played the harp. She just sat there. And I was just amazed. This is comedy I'd never seen before.
And they were doing it for radio, so you were watching a stage play almost?
Well, I think he was doing his radio show, but I think he also did a stage performance. Right. Because I remember he had a joke. He had a dwarf who came running across the stage pulling a rope. Yeah. And you watched the dwarf pull the rope, and you kept watching. The rope kept moving, and here comes the dwarf picking in the back end. And as a kid, you'd never seen it. It was like another dimension of comedy.
Was that was your first dwarf experience?
Yeah, well, and Cleveland, you didn't know. I mean, you didn't know dwarfs. You didn't know what. But up until then, the jokes were my mother-in-law drove my Cadillac off a cliff, mixed emotions. And which was funny to me. And it's all mixed emotions.
That's clever.
Yeah. But I always I always liked comedy. It's kind of a release. I guess I was always kind of a worried kid, and I still worry a lot about things. So
it gave you some relief.
Relief. And my parents were not very, it wasn't not a laugh-filled household.
No.
But I had aunts and uncles who were funny.
Thank God.
Oh, they'd come over, and my mother was very, calm down. I don't. My father, and what did you mean? I heard from school today that you had and
there's a lot of panic around.
Yeah, but I had these wonderful aunts and uncles that would come over. My one uncle would pretend to steal silverware. It was just, so I always laughed at that.
Yeah. What kind of racket was your father in?
I'm not sure. He worked for something called Morris Plan Bank. It was something about automobile financing. But he passed away when I was fairly young, which is it's always very emotional. I was like 11 or 12 years old, and he died. And that was, it's really
tough age.
It's like a big dose of reality,
sure,
because you don't know. No one's going to die.
Yeah.
Great grandma died. She was almost, she was really old. She was 75.
Right.
Nowadays, 75 doesn't seem that old.
Right.
Well, he was a kid.
Yeah. So that was a big void.
Yeah. So then I wanted even more laughs, anything that would be funny.
Right. So when you left Cleveland, I mean, you grew up there, and then what was the next step for you?
Next step, let's see. I went off to, I was sent away. My mother remarried to the wicked stepfather, and they decided, that send me away to a prep school, a military school. And I went away to a little one my last 2 years in high school, which turned out to be a lot of fun. It was in Kentucky. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
But in the winter, the selling point is they moved the whole school down to Venice, Florida.
Oh, okay.
For 3 months.
Yeah.
And that was so great to be in Florida. And then, so then I decided to go. I said, this is kind of fun. And I took some kind of IQ test, and I turned out, or some test, I had the highest grades or the highest IQ of anyone in the school, because these were a lot of times the kind of kids that are sent there because they're not doing well.
Sure, it's
and
like
I'd gone to a very tough high school in
keep
Cleveland.
them out of jail.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think they were quite on the brink of jail, but
Okay.
it was either that or go in the army or go into go get a job delivering groceries.
Yeah.
So I was one of the brightest students. So I went to a place called Virginia Military Institute.
Wow.
Which was a lot tougher than I thought.
Was
it
that
would
like
be.
West Point?
Yeah.
So everyone was in uniform?
Yeah, yeah. But I played sports there, and
Which sport?
Baseball, and I got into cross country, which is a tough sport.
Running?
Yeah. About 5 miles. That was a tough sport. And
yeah.
Indoor tracks.
Well,
so
you look like you're in pretty good shape now.
I still am. I try to be, and I'm still hoping to. Maybe if they, have a little a couple of more expansion teams. I've given up hopes of playing in the big leagues, but a couple of years in the minors, maybe.
Why not? It's never too late for that kind of thing.
Double A or something.
Live that dream.
Yeah, I don't want to be a DH, but first base, maybe play 5 or 6 innings and take the rest of the day off. That'd be fun. But then, I always want to be a baseball player, but then you go out, first you see all these terrible injuries.
Yeah.
Then you realize there's guys that aren't on the first string, and they come out to the ballpark every day and sit on that bench for 9 innings.
Yeah.
And then they're worried they're going to be sent down. Then they're sent down. Then they're hitting 170. I said, I don't know. That wouldn't have been. I don't think I would have liked to have done that. I'm kind of glad I never got wrapped. As a kid, you always think you'll hit 350 and be a big star.
Be a hero.
How hard can it be? You throw the ball over the plate.
Focus. Yeah. Yeah. So did you end up going in the military, or how did that
I did.
Which branch? Army?
It was
Navy?
It was the Army, and
I
think it was artillery, and because at the time there was a draft.
So I'm taking it you didn't have to do anything if you think it was artillery.
No, I didn't. There was no firing guns or anything. I got on in some special thing, but I got to play. I was sent to Germany.
Yeah.
And I went out for the baseball team, and I made the baseball team, so it paid off. And the good thing is, we were stationed in Germany and went all around all these different cities. Playing baseball, Berlin and Hamburg.
Oh, wow.
And
what year was that, you think?
Oh, it was in the early 60s.
Okay.
And I don't think there's any military in Germany anymore. I'm sure the Germans hated us.
Well, they all used to be. It seemed like a lot of people spent time there. Elvis was there. I mean, Germany was a big base for us, right?
Yeah, we occupied Germany. And,
so it was a little pre-Vietnam. You didn't end up going anywhere?
No, I didn't go. And then I came back, and I said, now what'll I do?
Yeah.
I think I'll be an actor. That can't be too hard, because you see them in the movies. I can act, and I went to an acting school.
You did?
I did an acting school. But you go around in New York at the time, everyone had scene study. We're going to do scene study and mime. And I said, do you ever put on a show and invite agents? Oh, no, we just study.
Yeah.
So I finally found a place called Showcase Theater. And I said, what do you do? He said, well, every 10 weeks.
Yeah.
They were very theatrical.
Yeah.
And we put on a show. The show was in their apartment. It was in their, they had a stage in their
salon.
living room. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a salon.
Yeah.
And we invite, professional people. So I said, this is for me. So I got in there, and I did. And I find you can't really teach acting. Well, the best tool is to just get up and do scenes, and you can kind of tell if you're doing good or not. But our acting teacher would drive me nuts. He was you'd get up, you'd memorize a scene, and you'd get up on stage, and you'd get one line out, and he'd stop you.
Oh, God.
All right, now I want some business. Do some, and I want to say, Jesus, let me just go through the scene once. And
some business. Start twitching.
What are you doing? What is your intent here? But I met another guy who had a good sense of humor. We started joking around, and we saw an ad in the trade paper. The trades in the New York off-Broadway show is in development.
Like backstage or something like that? Yeah.
The casting office says, please do not come in person, do not send pictures, do not phone. Why are they even having
what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. There was an ad. We're doing a show, comedy actors wanted. So we went in. It was on 45th Street, the rehearsal hall, no longer there. And the guy said, do you have your own material? We said, no. He said, well, come back with a sketch. So every week we'd write a sketch and come back, and they never put on the show, but finally we had so many sketches, the guy said, let's put on a show with just you guys. So we did a show.
Who was the other guy?